What's up, Green Bay Packers fans? Long time no see. My name's Paul Brettel. I'm the site editor over at Dairyland Express, where we cover the Packers, Brewers, Bucks, and Badgers. I also have a new article out every Monday and Friday over at Cheesehead TV. And if you're watching this on YouTube, as it says at the bottom of the screen, you can find me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. So here we are. It is Saturday, the day before the Green Bay Packers take on a very, very tough 49ers team on the road in San Francisco. And so for today's episode, what I wanted to do was basically look ahead at that matchup. Every Friday over at Cheesehead TV, I have my final thoughts article where it's jumping from bullet point to bullet point, just my thoughts, observations, what to watch for on this upcoming matchup that the Green Bay Packers have. So just as I did last week, I wanted to discuss that article here with you, going through some of the bullet points. As I said, if you want to see the article version, I'm not going to hit all the bullet points. I'll hit most of them. But if you want the full piece, you can find that over at Cheesehead TV. So let's dive on in. First up, let's start off with the big news. And I'm sure you've heard by now, but Elgton Jenkins is listed as doubtful for this game. Matt LaFleur did say that he would have up until game time to prove that he can play, can get on the field, but my expectations at this time are that they're going to be without him, which, I mean, it goes without saying, but that is just a huge, huge loss for this Green Bay Packers offense. So what is the offensive line going to look like? Well, my guess is that it's likely going to be Billy Turner moving from right tackle to left tackle. He has over 400 career snaps at left tackle. 360-ish of them came last year alone, started in the NFC Championship game there. He has the experience. And then at right tackle, my guess it would be Dennis Kelly. He was a starter at right tackle for the Tennessee Titans in 2020. Held up well, didn't allow any sacks, 26 pressures, according to Pro Football Focus. So that's my guess how that will shake out at the tackle position. I mean, maybe they look into Yosh Nijman to take over at left tackle, but he only has 15 career snaps at the position, and him making his first NFL start against this 49ers pass rush, I mean, just to put it bluntly, that just sounds like a recipe for disaster. So I expect Billy Turner at left tackle, Dennis Kelly at right tackle, and then at left guard. Green Bay has another decision to make there as well. Lucas Patrick started week 1, went through concussion protocol, and although he was cleared and suited up last week, it was Jon Runyan who got the start, and to his credit, he held up fairly well. Wasn't against a stout Detroit Lions pass rush by any means, but he held up well and looked aggressive out there, which is always good to see. Whatever route LaFleur goes with that, whether it's Patrick or Runyan, I'm not going to be terribly surprised in his decision. If I had to guess, I would say that they go with Runyan, stick with the hot hand, go with the continuity. Like I said, either way, I'm not going to be surprised one way or the other. So if we look at what this Packers offensive line unit could very well look like on Sunday night, Turner at left tackle, Jon Runyan, Josh Myers, Royce Newman, and then Dennis Kelly. I mean, collectively, especially considering the injuries that have occurred, that's not a bad group by any means. The potential for them to be a, not great by any means, but a solid unit is there. The issue, however, is who they're going up against. Even before Elgton Jenkins was injured, I was very nervous about this matchup. The 49ers pass rush, particularly their edge rushers, Nick Bosa, Dee Ford, Arik Armstead, against the Green Bay Packers offensive line. Now take Elgton Jenkins out of the equation, and my concern level has moved up a few notches, as I'm sure you can imagine, and yours probably have as well. The 49ers defensive front, they've generated 52 pressures this season. It's the third most in football. And as we've seen with this Packers offense, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't have time, I mean, to put it simply, this offense just really, really, really struggles. So it's going to be important for Green Bay to lean on the run, establish the run, just as they did against Detroit. I mean, just based on how this offense operates in the LaFleur system, establishing the run game should be a must every week. We saw the difference between week 1 against New Orleans and week 2 against Detroit, just how much more efficiently this group operates when they're running the ball, when they're getting Aaron Jones involved. So for that reason alone, like I said, establishing the run should be crucial, should be a big part of the game plan every single week. This week, however, when you're going against a stout pass rush like the 49ers have, it can obviously help mitigate that. If you're running the ball, if you're finding success running the ball, that's just less pass rush opportunities for Bosa, Ford, Armstead, and the rest of that Niners defensive front. On top of that, to help mitigate the pass rush, I'd also expect to see a lot of 12 personnel, a lot of 22 personnel. So with 2 tight ends on the field, lining up in line to help chip the edge rushers, just provide that what hopefully turns into that extra half second of time for Aaron Rodgers in the pocket. So those are two big ways, as well as quick passes on Aaron Rodgers' part, getting the ball out of his hands quickly, no long developing plays. Those are three things that Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers can do to help their offensive line unit out because, as we've talked about, it's going to be a very tough test for them this week. Running the ball. I just want to touch on that briefly once more. This past Monday's game against Detroit was a prime example of how you don't have to, average 6 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry. You don't have to have 3, 4, 5, 15, 20-yard runs in order for the run game to be successful. Green Bay running backs averaged only 3.9 yards per carry against the Lions. The longest run of the night for them was 9 yards. Those numbers are not eye-popping by any means, but it proves that you don't have to have those eye-popping numbers for the run game to be successful. The important part is that the defense respects it. Averaging 4 yards a carry isn't sexy by any means, but it puts the offense in 2nd and 6. 2nd and 6 is a favorable position to be in if you're Matt LaFleur and calling plays. It also makes the defense respect that you're going to run the ball. If you're running the ball 25 times, the defense is starting to expect it. They're going to start playing towards it. The defense or the safeties, the linebackers, they're going to creep up. They're going to change how they operate. And that's what you want. That's when you can take advantage with the passing game. So against this 49ers defense, we may not see, again, those big runs or, huge carry totals by the Packers running backs, but it's still important that they stick to the run, that they establish the run, because this LaFleur offense, as we've seen, everything is based off that. So Green Bay needs to find a way to make sure that they establish the run. And against this Kyle Shanahan offense, I'll just jump to this bullet point right now. Kyle Shanahan versus Joe Barry. I'm worried about that one, to say the least. We all know what Kyle Shanahan can do as a play caller. This Joe Barry defense, the interior defensive line has struggled to stop the run. They've been pushed around. There's been very little pass rush, miscommunications overall, blown coverages. That's just a recipe for Kyle Shanahan to come out and take advantage and bully this Green Bay Packers defensive unit a little bit. So I say all that to tie it back to the run game, because there is the potential that the Green Bay Packers get down, and they get down early. And we've seen that when that happens, they abandon the run game. They have to stick to it, though. If this team becomes one-dimensional passing the ball against this pass rush with their offensive line beat up, no Elgton Jenkins, no David Bakhtiari, it's also the first true road test for the rookies, Royce Newman and Josh Myers. It's not going to end well. It is not going to end well. The Green Bay Packers need to find a way to establish the run and stick to the run, because that is the recipe for success for that side of the ball. Next up, the 49ers run game. Let's switch to the Niners side of the offense. I already talked about how just schematically I'm concerned about what Kyle Shanahan can do with this, or to this Joe Barry defense. He's got Deebo Samuel at his disposal. He can line up in the backfield, in the slot, out wide. Deebo Samuel actually leads all receivers in receiving yards this year with 282, and 189 of them came against Detroit in week 1. They also have George Kittle. We know what a matchup problem he is. He's torched the Packers in the past, just like many tight ends have. But as good as those players are, and they will be involved, right now Packer fans just need to, we all need to understand, George Kittle, he's going to have a big play or two. Deebo Samuel, he's going to have a big play or two. But the bread and butter of this Niner offense is running the ball. Jimmy Garoppolo passes the ball on only 46% of the total plays that the Niners have run on offense. That ranks 30th in the NFL. Despite the injuries that they've had at the running back position, and they have more of them, Elijah Mitchell, who's first on the team in carries this year, JaMycal Hasty, who's second on the team in carries, they're both out for Sunday's game. So starting, or who we expect to start anyways, is Trey Sermon, rookie running back. He has 1 carry this season. But regardless of those injuries, who's in the backfield, the Niners, they run the ball. The Green Bay Packers should absolutely be prepared for a heavy dose of the Niners running it, and they're going to have to find a way to stop it, because as we saw in the 2019 NFC Championship game, if Kyle Shanahan's finding success running the ball, he's just going to continue to run the ball. The Green Bay Packers will have to prove that they can stop him, and of course, that's worrisome based on what we've seen through the first 2 games. But expect a heavy dose of Trey Sermons and whichever other running backs that the Niners will have on the field on Sunday night. One other item that I'm very curious to see is Kevin King. Is he really going to play more in the slot? That certainly caught me off guard on Monday night. However, after the fact, looking at the matchups, you got a big physical receiver like Quintez Cephas on Wisconsin. You got TJ Hawkinson, tight end, who lines up in the slot. From a matchup standpoint, you can maybe kind of see why the Green Bay Packers wanted to give Kevin King a run there, but long term, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. For starters, he doesn't have the speed, he doesn't have the hip fluidity to move quickly within there. And a big part of being a slot cornerback, you got to tackle. You got to be in on the run game. As we all know, that's not a strength of Kevin King's either. Joe Barry, Jerry Gray this week, when discussing King in the slot, they certainly made it seem like there's going to be more of that to come. So the big question is how much? And I assume it's going to be matchup based. They're not just going to stick him there to stick him there. But I don't see how Kevin King in the slot, especially against the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, how that's going to work out well for Green Bay. Deebo Samuel and Kevin King in the slot is a matchup nightmare. So I'll be curious to see how many snaps he gets there this week. I'm hoping not that many. Chandon Sullivan, Jair Alexander, Darnell Savage, Adrian Amos. The Green Bay Packers have better options to put inside than Kevin King. We also hope that we see more of Eric Stokes as well. Took 44 snaps last week, still outsnapped by King. And so hopefully we get to see more of Stokes. And really, when it comes to Kevin King, his role, you would think at some point just has to be reduced. The slot isn't the answer. He's struggling out wide. He's going to be a part of this defense this season. I've talked about that. I've written about that. He's not going anywhere. The question is, in what capacity is he going to be a part of this defense? One other person are we going to see more of is Randall Cobb. Cobb only has 4 receptions this season and only 4 targets. 3 of them came last week, and you could tell in that third quarter there was absolutely an effort on Aaron Rodgers' part to get him involved, to get him the ball. This week, Matt LaFleur talked about how they wanted to get him more involved in the offense as well. So maybe this is the week where they try to, we see more of Randall Cobb as he becomes a bigger part of the offense. And sticking with that Packer passing game, I know we talked about the importance of the run game, which it absolutely is. We talked about how the offensive line is going to have a tough time going up against the 49ers pass rush, but there is the potential for Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, the rest of these receivers to find success in the passing game. Step one, obviously, provide Aaron Rodgers time. But if he can't, this is a banged up, this is a different cornerback room for the Niners than what we've seen in the past. They have a 5th-round rookie. I'm not going to try to pronounce his first name, but Lenoir is his last name. And he's been a pleasant surprise. He's held up well, don't get me wrong, but he's still a 5th-round rookie. They're without Jason Verrett at cornerback. They brought in Josh Norman, who, as we all know, he's not himself, not who he used to once be. So there's the opportunity for this Green Bay Packers game to exploit the Niners cornerbacks. But again, I'm a broken record. It's going to come down to the pressure. The Green Bay Packers have to give him time, give Aaron Rodgers time in the pocket. Sticking with pressure, let's flip to the other side of the ball. The 49ers offensive line has been very, very good at limiting it. Well, we all know the Green Bay Packers pass rush, they've struggled to generate it. Through 2 games, the Niners are yet to allow a sack. They've only given up 7 pressures. This is, of course, a credit to their overall play, the play of the offensive line. But Jimmy Garoppolo, on average, holds the ball for 2.47 seconds. That's the 7th fastest time in football this season, meaning Kyle Shanahan draws up a lot of quick passes. So between this offensive line, the Niners' quick passing game, it is going to be very difficult for the Green Bay Packers to generate pressure, an area that they've already struggled in. I already alluded to this earlier, but this is the Packers' first true road test since the 2019 NFC Championship against the 49ers. All last year, obviously due to COVID, at the end of the year, there were some fans in the stadium, but it wasn't full capacity by any means. It wasn't sold out. And then this year's road opener against New Orleans was held in Jacksonville. So this will be their first true road test for rookies, Josh Myers, Royce Newman. Those are 2 guys that I will be focused on because, on the offensive line in that hostile road environment, it's a very difficult place to play, and especially against a team of this quality, a pass rush of that quality. So those are 2 guys that I'll be locked in on. But just in general, how do the Green Bay Packers handle that? And also, it's another West Coast trip, which those have not been kind to the Green Bay Packers. I know they were able to beat up on the Niners last season in San Francisco, but that was basically the Niners JV squad with all the injuries they had. They were blown out twice in 2019 by the Niners. They had just an abysmal showing against Los Angeles Chargers that year as well. let's hope that they can correct those West Coast Blues and bring that energy. That's what we want to see. This is going to be a tough game for the Green Bay Packers to win. I'll cover that here in a second when I get to my prediction. But what I really want to see is the energy. If they go out and lose, 28-24, that is what it is. You're going to lose games. This is a very good Niners team. It's a short week. There's a lot going against the Green Bay Packers. There's the injuries, the short week, as I mentioned. I mean, traveling across the country, there's a lot going against them. If they lose, they lose. That's fine. But bring the energy, play well. I just cannot see another blowout. I do not want to see another blowout take place as we've seen against New Orleans and a couple other times here in San Francisco. Key matchups, we've already touched on it. Packers offensive line versus the 49ers pass rush, as well as the Niner running backs versus the Green Bay defensive front. We're going to see a lot of that Niners run game. The Green Bay Packers need to find a way to stop it. Now, let's get to the prediction. As I'm sure you can tell from how this video has gone, I'm picking the 49ers to win. I think the pass rush against this banged up offensive line is just going to be too much for Green Bay. On the other side of the ball, I think Kyle Shanahan versus Joe Barry is just not this Joe Barry defense, I should say, is just not a favorable matchup this early in the season. They're still trying to find their way. Kyle Shanahan, he's an evil genius when it comes to some of the play calls that he can drop, that he can design. And then add in the other stuff, the short week, the cross-country trip. It's just not going to – I just don't see the Green Bay Packers winning this one. So I have the 49ers. I'll go 49ers 34, Green Bay Packers 24. So there you have it. I hope that this quick rundown of what to watch for, what to keep your eyes on, my final thoughts was helpful for you. As I said, if you want the full version, go check out the article over at Cheesehead TV. But as always, I thank you guys for joining me. Let's cross our fingers. Let's hope we see the energy, hope that we see a Green Bay Packers win on Sunday, but it is going to be a very, very tough test. So until next time, friends, I appreciate you all joining me. Take care, stay safe, and as always, go Pack, go.